Math is something everyone has to learn, whether you like it or not. Up until algebra, you only have to worry about these numbers called constants. But then the letter X comes in. X wants to play with all the numbers, and the numbers are all looking at him weird.
Your face. When I look at it, I think of barf.
That's basically what algebra is, and I'm going to cover that in this video. Now don't get scared by this letter X. X is one of many variables that we will use in math. It's just like a question mark, like this example. You can replace that question mark with an X and it'll still be the same thing. Now what happens if we have 2x? That's just saying 2 times x, or having 2 x's and adding them up together. The 2 is called a coefficient. What if the 2 is here? That's x squared. It's basically just x times x. The 2 here is called an exponent. Before we jump into solving equations, we need to know how to combine like terms. Like how we combine numbers like 2 plus 4, we can do that if they have the same number of x's attached to them. For example, in this expression 2x plus 4 minus 3x minus 2, we can combine the like terms and get negative x plus 2. Now one of the main topics in algebra is solving equations. For example, let's solve for x in this equation. One rule when trying to manipulate the equation is whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. In order to solve for x, we have to isolate it to one side. So first, let's subtract 4 on both sides. On the left side, that gets rid of this 4, and on the right, 16 minus 4 is 12. Now if we divide it by negative 3 on both sides, then that would leave only x on the left side and negative 4 on the other. So x is equal to negative 4. Simple enough, right? What if the equations weren't equal? They would be called inequalities, and they basically are the same thing. Let's take that same equation and turn it into an inequality like this. We would do the same process by subtracting 4 on both sides. Now when you multiply or divide by a negative number, the sign flips, so therefore x is less than negative 4. So if we substituted something less than negative 4, like negative 5, that would make the inequality true. Now that we covered that, I'm going to introduce you to another letter, y. Y, you say? Y is like the girlfriend of x. X and y are both used to make functions. A function is when an x value matches one y value. Basically, the boyfriend x can't be bouncing around different y values like a... One way to check this on a graph is by using the vertical line test. When placing the line on the graph, as long as there aren't any overlaps, it is a function. Here's an example of a function, and here's an example of not a function. Anyways, the most common function is the linear function. It is written in the form y equals mx plus b. Whoa! What is m and b doing here? M is the slope of the line and b is the y-intercept. The slope is the ratio at which y increases or decreases as x increases. It's like the steepness. It can be found using the change in y over the change in x. Or if you have 2 points, this formula. The y-intercept is the y value at which the line intercepts the y-axis. Easy, right? Now unlike x and y, which I said were variables, m and b are constants. Now I know that's a little confusing because I said numbers were constants, but m and b are constants in a line because they cannot change. The x and y value changes as you go along the line. This is an example of a line. It has the slope of 1/2 and the y-intercept is at 0,4. Now this form is called the slope-intercept form, obviously, but there are other forms like the point-slope form and the standard form. Now of course, I didn't forget about our beloved inequality. If we looked at that same line but replaced the equal sign with the greater than sign, then the graph changes to something like this. This shaded part is all the values that x and y can be that work together. The reason the line is dotted is because it cannot actually equal each other since it's only greater than. We can just fix it like this. Now when graphing, whether you shade it up or down is just based on intuition. If it's greater than, it's probably the upper side or the right side. Now of course, it doesn't just stop there. Sometimes there will be 2 lines and we will try to solve for their intersection. There are 2 methods for solving these questions. One is substitution. Basically, you solve for one of the variables in terms of the other variable, and then you substitute it into the other equation, practically eliminating one of the variables. So in this case, we already have y in terms of x, so we will substitute that into this y and get 2 times 4x minus 3 plus 3x equals 49. Now this brings a new symbol into math. Parentheses. Now, parentheses and brackets are the same thing, but parentheses are usually used first. In this case, we have a 2 outside the parentheses, which means we will multiply each term by 2. So once we expand it out, we get 8x minus 6 plus 3x equals 49. Before we move on, this brings up a new question. How do we know what to do first when mathing? Do we add first or multiply or do the parentheses? Let me put you on to something called PEMDAS. It's just an acronym. It means parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Now the order of multiplication and division don't matter and addition and subtraction don't matter. I guess it could be called PEMSA. But anyways, this is called the order of operations and it's just the way math tells you what order to do stuff in. Anyways, back to the problem. Let's combine like terms and we get 11x minus 6 equals 49. Now pause and try to get x on your own. Okay, time's up. We will add 6 to both sides and get 11x equals 55. And if we divide 11 on both sides, we get x equals 5. Now, we can solve for y by substituting x as 5 into either equation. I'm gonna use this one. 4 times 5 minus 3 is just 17, so the solution is at 0.5 comma 17. This is SA Tim's tutor. Nearly 3 months later, after editing this video, I kind of gave up, and this video had about 3 minutes to go, but that will be in another part, and that other part will have another part. So thank you and stay tuned.